Most people see crows as dark shadows in the sky, loud intruders in quiet neighborhoods, or omens of misfortune. They are rarely considered creatures of thought, memory, or emotion, but those who observe closely, with patience and attention, come to realize that crows live in a world defined not just by survival, but by memory, morality, and connection. In ways that often escape human understanding, they recognize faces, remember deeds, respond to injustice, and mourn their dead. What humans call instinct is only part of the story. Beneath the black feathers lies an intelligence that carries echoes of morality, loyalty, and even love. Crows remember. They remember faces the way humans remember voices or smells that leave an imprint on the soul. A stranger tossing crumbs in a park may seem insignificant, yet to a crow, that person's gestures, expressions, and even patterns of movement are etched in memory. Over days, weeks, and even months, crows notice the subtle habits of the humans around them, the gentle smile that accompanies a tossed morsel of food, the careful step that avoids crushing their eggs, the voice that calls them by name. Consider the story of a woman in a quiet suburb who fed the same pair of crows every morning. They began to land closer, then closer still, eventually allowing her to approach within a few feet. She stopped feeding them for a week during a vacation. When she returned, 2 crows appeared immediately on her fence, unmistakably recognizing her presence. Her face had been remembered, not as an object, not as a threat or opportunity, but as a living connection. Crows catalog faces with precision and recall them across years, passing that knowledge silently within their community. But memory is not neutral. It records kindness, yes, but it also records harm. A thrown stone, a sudden swing, a callous act against one of their own leaves a permanent mark. These are not forgetful creatures. Faces of harm are marked and cataloged in a network of memory that extends beyond the individual. A crow may not strike immediately, but it carries the memory and communicates the danger to others. Recognition is the foundation of all their deeper behaviors: revenge, appreciation, and mourning. Crows are patient when it comes to retaliation. Their revenge is neither impulsive nor blind. It is deliberate, communal, and precise. When a human harms a crow, the offender's face is remembered and shared within the flock. Stories abound of people being watched for weeks or months after harming a bird, unaware that the sky itself seems to hold a silent accusation. One man, tossing rocks at a crow nest during spring, later found the same flock circling his yard daily. Their calls were loud, insistent, almost accusing, and they would mob him at the slightest movement outside. The crow community had remembered him, had passed the knowledge along, and had taught the young crows to recognize and respond. Revenge in the crow world is a teaching tool. It is a measured response, designed to protect the community and uphold a sense of moral order. This revenge is not anger for its own sake. It is memory acting as justice. A crow's world is governed by who can be trusted and who cannot, and the repercussions for betrayal are encoded into the social fabric of their communities. A single act of harm does not go unnoticed. It is carried in the wind, whispered through calls, and seen in every black feather that passes overhead. Yet crows are not defined by vengeance alone. They remember kindness with equal clarity. In some neighborhoods, humans have witnessed crows leaving small gifts in return for consistent care. A shiny button, a coin, a fragment of glass that glimmers in the sun. These are not random objects, but tokens of recognition and appreciation. The crow does not speak in words, but its actions convey profound meaning. It can wait for hours, perched silently near a human who once offered food, returning each day at a precise moment to acknowledge the kindness that changed its life. The act is not transactional, it is relational. Crows do not simply respond to survival, needs they carry an emotional ledger of gratitude, honor, and recognition. In another story, a pair of crows had been fed daily by an elderly man. When he fell ill and could no longer care for them, The birds continued to visit his window, calling softly into the emptiness, as if checking on the man they had known. They were not looking for food. They were remembering a connection, an acknowledgement of shared time and trust. Perhaps the most extraordinary of all crow behaviors is their gathering around the dead. When one of their own dies, the flock congregates. They do not touch the body. They do not feed. They circle, they call, and they remain still, as if holding the air itself in reverence. The funeral is a complex ritual. Young crows observe the behavior of adults, learning which faces represent safety and which represent danger. The gathering communicates knowledge, but it also communicates emotion. The calls of the assembled birds change in tone, from sharp warning cries to slow, mournful notes. It is not merely behavior, it is collective acknowledgement of life lost. In one observed instance, a crow fell from a low branch, its wing broken. Within minutes, a dozen others had assembled. Some perched nearby, watching silently. Some circled above, calling softly. The air felt charged, almost sacred. The birds remained with the fallen companion until sunset, after which they lifted into the sky together, leaving the body behind but carrying its memory onward. These funerals are not simply for teaching or protection. They are acts of respect. They recognize the value of the individual, the importance of community, and the significance of life itself. What humans fail to see is that the crow's world is a reflection of memory, morality, and consciousness. They experience grief, loyalty, anger, and appreciation. Their intelligence is not abstract, it is relational. They exist in webs of social awareness and ethical action that rival our own, though expressed without language. Crows teach their young about danger, yes, but they also teach them about trust, observation, and emotional response. They carry knowledge from generation to generation, using both memory and subtle social cues. They recognize patterns in humans and other animals, learning not just to survive, but to interact meaningfully with the world around them. One cannot help but wonder if humans are only beginning to glimpse the surface of their inner lives. Beneath the black feathers and sharp eyes lies a consciousness attuned to the rhythms of life and death, to the nuances of loyalty and betrayal, to the sacredness of connection. Crows remind us that memory is not merely a tool for survival. It is a way of loving, of teaching, of honoring life. They remember faces that have harmed them. They honor those who have cared for them. They mourn and commemorate those who have passed. Their funerals are not simply gatherings of birds. They are ceremonies of memory, love, and reverence. Through these rituals, crows assert the profound truth that every life matters, every connection leaves an imprint, and that grief and remembrance are not exclusive to humans. To watch a crow is to witness an echo of consciousness that transcends species. In their eyes, one sees the weight of memory and the grace of understanding. In their wings, one feels the silent language of respect. In their mourning, one recognizes the universality of loss and the enduring power of love. Crows are more than creatures of instinct. They are keepers of memory, teachers of justice, and silent witnesses of life and death. They remind us that even in darkness, awareness and care persist. They hold funerals not merely for the dead, but for the living, for the memory, and for the truth that every life leaves its mark on the world.